So, let's start the second presentation, the completed action research. My research title is Square of IM, Interactive Intervention Material in Mathematics, its effect to the academic performance of grade 10 students. So, for the parts of the completed action research, just the same as the proposal. Meron lang pagkakaiba sa mga parts na konting part lang. Just like abstract page and acknowledgement page, which is present now in the completed action research. The abstract page is just a brief summary of the whole research. Okay? And acknowledgement page, alam na po natin yan. Okay? So, after the abstract page and acknowledgement, Roman numeral 1, context and rationale. Roman numeral 2, innovation, intervention, and strategy. Roman numeral 3, action research questions. Roman numeral 4, research methods. So, as you can see, the first 4 parts were already at the action research proposal. So, kukopihin nyo na lang po siya. The only difference is past tense na po dito sa completed action research. Roman numeral 5, discussion of results and reflection. Roman numeral 6, summary of findings. Roman numeral 7, conclusion. Roman numeral 8, recommendations. Roman numeral 9, references. Again, nasa proposal na po ito. Kokopyahin nyo na lang. And Roman numeral 10 is the financial report. So, along with this is the liquidation report supported by the required attachments for accounting and audit purposes. And for this completed research, I am the writer and at the same time is statistician for this paper. So, let me present my action research entitled The Square of IM, Interactive Intervention Material in Mathematics, its effect to the academic performance of the grade 10 students. So, let me show to you my action research questions. This study was conducted to determine the effect of using the square of IM to grade 10 students. Specifically, this research study aimed to answer the following questions. Number 1, what is the effect? What is the pre-test and post-test mean score of the control and experimental group of grade 10 students on permutations? Number 2, are there significant differences in the pre-test and post-test mean scores on permutations between the experimental and control group? Number 3, are there significant differences in the pre-test and post-test mean before and after the square of IM of the experimental group? And number 4, what is the effect size of the intervention to the performance of students on permutations? So, as you can see, action research questions have 2 parts, the general question and the specific questions. So, yung specific questions, yung 4 na po. Yung 4 na yan. Which will be eventually answered after pagkatapos nitong ng research na to. Okay. Action research methods. This study utilized the pre-test, post-test quasi-experimental design and was conducted during the third quarter of the school year 2019-2020. Result of the study showed the effect of the intervention to the students' performance. The respondents and source of data came from the grade 10 students of West Tabacal Region National High School. School year 2019-2020. 50 participants out of 114 were considered the respondents of this study. Out of 50 respondents, they were grouped into two, control and experimental group, non-randomized selection of respondents. You will understand later why I use non-randomized sampling technique. The control group was composed of 25 students from grade 10 Rizal and 25 students from grade 10 Aguinaldo for experimental group, all of which have the same attributes after conducting the pre-assessment to all grade 10 students. As you can see sa video kung paano ko sinelect yung mga respondents from the control and experimental group. And for Roman numeral 5 discussion of results and reflection, let's start with table 1A. It shows that the pre-test and post-test result of the control group. It implies that the mean post-test is greater than the mean pre-test, which has a difference of 1.42. And numerically, they are different, mean pre-test and mean post-test. And there is a light effect of the lecture method to the grade 10 students on permutations. And for table 1B, shows the pre-test and post-test result of the experimental group. It implicitly tells us that the mean post-test is greater than the mean pre-test, which has a mean difference of 3.08. The mean pre-test is significantly different from the mean post-test. This implies that there is an effect of the square of Im to grade 10 students on permutations. Table 2A shows the result of the test on significance of pre-test scores of control and experimental group. It illustrates that the computed value is less than the critical value. And since p-value is greater than the level of significance at 0.05, then the null hypothesis is accepted, therefore not significant. It simply means that the pre-test score of control and experimental group belong to the same range or score size and attributes. That's why I use non-randomized selection of respondents. They must have the same level of scores para po hindi siya bias. Ay, mas matataas, mas magagaling din sa group na to, mas hindi magagaling dito sa group na to. Maapektuhan yung data natin o yung result ng data natin. So that's why it is non-randomized selection of respondents. Table 2B shows the result of the test on significance of post-test scores of control and experimental group. It was indicated on the table that the computed value is less than the critical value. And since p-value is less than the level of significance at 0.05, null hypothesis is rejected, hence significant. It simply means that the post-test scores of the control and experimental group significantly increases. Next table shows the result of the test of significance of pretest scores of control and experimental group. It was indicated on the table that the computed value is less than the critical value. And since the computed value is greater than the level of significance at 0.05, then the null hypothesis is accepted. Table 3B. It means that the post-test score of experimental group significantly increases after the intervention because the computed value is greater than the critical value. Reject the null hypothesis, therefore, it's significant. And the last table, the effect size. The table presents the effect size of the intervention to the academic performance of the respondents. This shows that the computed effect size is 0.56 and is verbally described as medium effect size. This means that there is a medium significant difference on the academic performance of grade 10 before and after the intervention. And the experimental group performed better than the control group. So, hindi nga lang siya large effect, nandun siya dun sa gitna. Okay, summary of findings. The findings of the study revealed that the learners interacted with permutations well, with the use of the interactive intervention material in mathematics. The performance of the control group in the pretest has a small difference in the performance of their post-test result, while the experimental group exhibits big improvement in their performance during the pretest before and after the intervention. It implies that there is no significant increase in the scores of respondents under control group before and after intervention. Also, the scores of experimental group in the pretest and post-test have significant increase. The computed effect size is 0.56 and is verbally described as medium effect size. This means that there is significant difference on the academic performance of the control group and experimental group before and after the intervention. And so, conclusion, from the light of the findings, it was found out that the square of Im is an effective intervention to increase the academic performance of grade 10 students in permutations, as manifested by the significant increase in the pretest scores of the students under experimental group. And for recommendations, based on the conclusion, the researcher would like to recommend the mathematics teachers should adopt the use of square of Im, as this has been proven effective. The result must be disseminated through learner action cell sessions, meetings, and research fora. And for the last part, financial report, the approved budget is only 1,580 out of from the research proposal cost estimate 6,400. Dahil sa limited na budget po, bond paper lang yata ang nabili ko, tapos yung ring bind expenses kasi naka-ring bind po lahat ng square of Im for 25 students. And for the total expenses, 1,590.75. Deficit pa rin ng 10 pesos and 75 centavos. And along with this financial report is the liquidation report. Ayan, for audit purposes. Accounting and audit purposes. Kasama dyan yung mga receipts, photocopy of receipts. Okay, so thank you so much. That ends my presentation. If there are questions, I am ready to answer.